and welcome to another AMA with Kadena Project Network. In this episode, we'll be speaking with the team from Timpi. This conversation was recorded on June 27th, 2022, live on Twitter Spaces. The views and expressions in this AMA do not represent the views of KPN directly and are not to be considered as financial advice. Please make sure to do your own research on the projects presented. Also, make sure to follow our account to be alerted of new uploads. Now let's get started. Enjoy.
Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, welcome on.
Hi, thanks. I think we have Jörg and myself here from Timpi.
Yes, morning everyone.
Good afternoon for me, but good morning.
Yeah, it's 8 a.m. in New Zealand, so good morning.
3 p.m. here.
Okay. I think that's...
Well, we'll wait for more people to join in, then we'll get started.
Yep, sure thing. Quick question, does this get recorded?
Yes, it will. It's going to be available for 30 days on Twitter, and then, yeah.
Okay.
Anyone can listen back within 30 days.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're going to go ahead and get started now. So, thank you, George, and I don't know who's speaking from the Timpi account, but thank you for coming on.
Sorry, it's Gareth. Gareth and Jörg.
Thanks, Gareth. All right, thank you, Gareth, and Jörg. I probably butchered the pronunciation. I'm American.
No worries.
Just kind of like for those of us who don't know, and I'm sure many of us have heard of Timpi, but for those who are listening and who don't know, can you guys just give an introduction of yourselves and Timpi?
Yeah, sure. I can maybe start with that. So Timpi is the first genuine decentralized search engine. So what we are aiming to do is basically we interrupt the current state of search. If you look at the current state of search, you have basically two big players, and that's Google and Bing. And with that, there comes a lot of challenges, let me put it that way. And with Timpi, we want to basically give the users the power back and the control back, and allow them access to unbiased, unfiltered information. About myself, so my background is I'm the founder, CEO of Timpi. Sorry, I might start with that. My background is information security. So for more than 2 decades, I'm working in information security, and with that, a couple of years ago, 8 years nearly ago, I founded a business called Darkscope. Darkscope is a cyber intelligence business. And for that, we needed to develop a search engine that finds information in cyberspace about Darkscope's customers to show if they are at risk of cyber attacks. So during this time, I thought about a search engine that is completely decentralized and gives the user a better overview or a better search result in terms of unbiased information. And that was when the idea of Timpi was born. So last year, I talked to Gareth about it. Gareth is a friend of mine, and we have been working in other projects as well. And I talked with Gareth about it, and that Timpi started. So we started developing the solution, started designing the solution already before we went public. And we are now in a state where we have a running beta program. So we are running a public beta of one of our core technologies, which is the collector, and the geo core is also in a state or in a beta version. So we are already developing. We looking at our roadmap. We are looking in going live with the search engine this year. So, but that's about myself and Timpi. Gareth, do you want to maybe quickly?
Yep. So my name is Gareth, and I'm co-founder and chief operating officer of Timpi. And my background's in IT management. So I started off my career in IT, working with Hewlett Packard on their consultative team, and working with other large global organizations such as Shell and Sony, and a few others. But then over the years, then I've moved into the crypto space, and actually really love working in this space. So when Jörg came to me with the idea of Timpi, then I jumped at the opportunity to work with him. But my background's in implementation of ERP systems, traditionally at least, before I got involved in the crypto side of things. One of the things that makes me particularly excited about Timpi is when we talk about unbiased data, and that's really one of our differentiators from the rest of the market. And we of course do have the security and the privacy functions such as Brave and DuckDuckGo. But we, on top of that, we actually have developed and built our own index. So whereas DuckDuckGo and Brave use Google's index, we've actually developed our own, so we can say in a genuine way that the data that's represented to you is unbiased, and the whole structure of the search engine is decentralized. So we're really thinking about how we can, solve this global problem where people are being manipulated in various different ways in different countries with the data that they see. We want Timpi to be that placeholder for people to go to, where they can be reassured that the data that they're going to get is unmanipulated. And that's really where we're getting a lot of traction and attention in this space at the moment, because we're the only people who are genuinely tackling that problem.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you guys are doing it through crypto. Brave, they do their monetization and funding and ads through crypto, but you guys talk about the root of it is the index, and that's what makes it decentralized. So yeah, cool to see that you guys are doing that, and I love that you're doing it on Kadena with tokenization. So I guess my next question would be also Kadena related, kind of. How has your experience been since announcing Timpi? Since announcing Timpi, how has it been like interacting with the Kadena community?
I can maybe go for that. So it has been amazing from the start. When we introduced Timpi and the idea of Timpi, we had a very warm welcome at Kadena, and it's really a great community, I would say. We got a lot of support, a lot of feedback, and we feel very very good about it. So it was a great experience.
I think we're seeing the Kadena network being built out quite rapidly now, and we were one of the first there. And we're backers of Kadena before Timpi even came into play, so it was a natural point for us to be able to support the Kadena network. And being able to launch there has been really good, and generally the community's been pretty happy. I think what I will say at this point, and I think we'll touch on it later, is that we are also our own layer one. So we will be launching our own layer one, and we're going to be multi-chain. So we'll be on Kadena and on our own layer one network. So it's a multi-chain.
Yeah, but we will touch on that a little bit more in detail, I think. So.
Yeah, and I know you guys were originally going to do Kadena and Ethereum, but I think you guys switched that Ethereum aspect with the layer one chain. So yeah, have some questions about that later. Exciting stuff.
Okay.
So, I know you guys launched on KD launch. You guys built up a huge community from that. It's been great watching you guys grow over the past few months, and I'm really excited to see you guys launch. So, can you guys kind of explain what has been the most interesting part of raising on Kadena, raising funds on Kadena?
I think the great thing with Kadena is that it's not like launching on Ethereum or Binance, where no one actually cares about the network. Like, everyone here genuinely cares about Kadena and Kadena's growth. And what you see in the Kadena network right now is that many of the projects that are launching on Kadena, we're all working together, and we're all talking to each other, and we're all helping each other out. And so there's really a really nice feel about the Kadena and the Kadena community, and working with everybody on the Kadena, and that's really been great. And of course, we in addition to that, it's not just the community; it's Kadena themselves, and we've got an unopened line with a few of the Kadena guys there, and we wouldn't be able to have that on if with other networks. It just wouldn't be open to us at this stage. Whereas Kadena is there, and they're really creating an environment where Kadena can grow and flourish in the future.
Awesome. Yeah. So personally, I know you guys did really well on your IDO. You guys, a lot of promises, and I see the delivery there, especially. You guys have a stellar team. I'm just going to go out and say that. Like you said, you've been working with a lot of, you guys have a lot of experience in this sector. So definitely, I have trust in you guys to kind of apply this, especially in the crypto space. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So, how many active developers do you guys have on the team? If you don't mind me asking, this might be completely internal thing.
No, that's no worry. So we are working with 5 developers actively on the project. I just finished off our growth plans and budget planning. So we are growing to a team of 16 in the near future. And the developers are spread around various areas of the solution. So we have JavaScript, C# developers, blockchain. So we cover. We have AI experts as well. So at this stage, we are very busy going through the beta program right now, and a special thanks to our community, actually. So for everyone who is listening and part of the beta program, great work, thank you. So yeah, that's where we at this stage.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you guys are actively working on the project right now, and I know I hear a lot of good things about the beta program. So yeah, really cool stuff,
Yeah.
and I've seen some sneak peeks of you guys, node operations and stuff like that. So curious how you guys are going to do that through like the multi-chain, through this multi-chain world that we're in with crypto right now, with you guys own layer 1 in Kadena. So yeah.
I think one of the key things that we wanted to demonstrate is that we're serious about what we're doing, and so this is why we wanted to get the beta out as soon as possible to show people that we are actually building this. Because I know when we first came out, people really didn't believe that such a thing could exist or it was possible, and so we want to prove to everyone that it is happening and it's going to happen. And so the only way to do that was really to start building. And we're running the IDO events and everything that is happening with the fundraising in parallel with the development. So none of that is stopping development. We're full steam ahead and running the 2 in parallel.
Awesome. Oh, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say yes. So it's actually we are not waiting for any IDO rounds. We have been developing all the time before we even went public, and we are continuing with our development. And that's I think that's a great thing about it.
Another reason how this benefits us is that we're sorry if I'm going a bit off topic now, but we're a project that's a real world business. We have real world utility, and we have real revenue that's going to come into Timpi through dollars and through our ad network. So we want to get to that stage as quickly as possible, because as soon as we can start generating revenue, that means that's going to de-risk the whole business for us very early on. So and we believe we can do that by the end of the year. And so yeah, we're very keen to be really getting to the stage where we're creating that real world utility and real world revenue. So we need to build.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of stay a little off topic. I think that new projects like Timpi, like what you guys are doing right now, it's kind of future-proofing yourself by going for these newer sectors, kind of being the first movers in them, because you're kind of in a lot of projects in crypto. Most of them, let's be real, are Ponzi schemes because they're all self-reliant on their own ecosystems, and they're not I guess, how do I say this, applicable to the real world. And I think projects like Timpi and Flux and Kadena kind of being a settlement layer are gonna kind of come out on top in this kind of way. At least in 10 years time. If you guys have heard, I don't know if you guys heard, but the Kadena team vesting schedule actually extends all the way to, I think, 2031. So yeah, Kadena is here to stay, and I think I could say the same about Timpi.
Yeah.
So yeah, hope you guys didn't mind me kind of going tangent over there, but yeah.
No, that's really good because we make decisions for the future of Timpi, right? We're looking at long-term decisions, and I know, and we'll probably come through this more, but I know with there's been some queries about why we're moving to layer 1 instead of Ethereum and all this, but and some people have found that a difficult decision that we made. But we're really thinking about where are we going to be in the future? How can we make sure that we're still here in 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years time? And so our decision making really is strategic and long term.
Yep. So I guess the next question, and this kind of ties into what you guys were talking about with I think Jorg said you guys are always actively developing. You weren't waiting on different IDO runs and stuff like that. You guys have been building from the start. So does that kind of tie in your decision to switch to an L1? And can you kind of to make your own L1? Sorry, can you guys kind of explain the decision making process behind that?
Yeah, I can maybe take the first part of that. So we always said Timpi, and Timpi is driven by the community for the community. So for us, in order to do that, we also need to have a sort of a governance process for the community to actually make decisions. And that was one of the items we thought of what we need to do or why we want to move to layer 1. The other is, of course, with how Timpi is and Timpi's ad network will be built. We will have a huge amount of NFTs, for example. So running that on Ethereum would just waste a lot of resources in terms of gas fees and stuff like that. So with that, it is just future proof for us to use Kadena and our own chain, because that makes us most flexible, and it helps us to keep our promise that we don't want to end up as a search engine provider who makes decisions for the people. And whoever you look at the moment, even if they have their own index, it is always the ownership is always, or the decision making is always with the business itself. So that's the biggest risk we see, and we saw that recently with announcement around some of the search engines that are on the market. That's what we want to prevent. We do not want to make the decision for the people in terms of what is it you want to see on a search engine. How would you like to rank it? And that's something what we know with layer 1, what we can really introduce. We have our own government. So our tech, and that allows the community to make really the hard decisions on the search engine itself through the governance process, through the blockchain, and that was one of the reasons why we decided to move to layer 1.
Yeah, and that really feeds into having control. Control is the wrong word, but we need the community to be able to have control. We need flexibility within the network we're using, because we are not only developing a search engine, a decentralized search engine, but we're really on a mission here. Okay, we're on a mission to be able to bring unbiased data to the world, so people can have reliably unbiased data to the world. And there's many forms in which that can come through. And so, if you look at Google's ecosystem, for example, yes, they have a search engine, but they have a Google Docs and they have YouTube and many other services, all which are based around how we're receiving information and how the users are being manipulated in the way that organizations want them to. So we want to build an ecosystem for our overarching mission, which is to provide people with unbiased data. But we don't need to do that alone. There's strength in building a community, and there's strength in working with other projects who are doing things like a YouTube version, a YouTube equivalent, or a Google Docs equivalent, and we'd like to work with them, and we'd like them to be part of our ecosystem. So having a layer one really enables us to do that. Whereas if we were just our own token on a network, then the opportunities to create that ecosystem of like-minded projects with the same mission would be very limited.
Yeah, I understand where that kind of thought process comes from, and Jorg, I like what you said about like you guys don't want to be that team that's making decisions for the community. You're rather looking out for like the long term, so that there is a community for your project, right? And obviously, you guys through your nodes, and as every protocol kind of starts out centralized and gets decentralized over time. It's just the natural way of things in crypto. So yeah. I think you guys definitely have the right things going for you.
I think the other thing just to highlight there as well is that, as Jörg said at the beginning, this was a move that we had always looked at making down the line, and we'd mentioned it before. When we're moving into round two, perhaps I'll give you a segue here. When we're moving into round two, then we've got some significant strategic partnerships that we've been talking to for 2 or 3 months now, and you're getting contracts sorted, and we're there now, and hopefully we'll be able to make an announcement on those partnerships in the next couple of weeks. But whilst we went through consultation with them, then we really realized that we're in a position to be able to do this sooner than we thought, and particularly for when we're coming into round two, then opening it up and giving that people an opportunity to be part of something much larger was beneficial for our partners, and we believe that long term it's beneficial for all our holders as well.
Yeah, I mean it's understandable. So you guys, you have a second round coming soon, and is this gonna like? Do we have any details on this yet? I'm completely oblivious to knowledge that there was a second round. So, if this was already announced, like, feel free to let me know. But I'm just wondering.
No, so second round has been long awaited. People have been asking the question for probably a couple of months now. It's very soon. So it's hinging on the partnerships that I've talked about just briefly there. And so once we've signed contracts, then we're going to be able to announce the schedule for round two. And at the same time, we'll also announce schedule for the layer one as well.
Okay.
We are tantalizingly close to be able to communicate what those dates are, but not quite now.
Painfully close, you can say.
Yeah.
And are these announcements gonna also come with like those partnerships you were talking about? Like those are going to be announced?
Yeah, we've got quite a few. So we've got the partnerships, 2 partnerships that we'll announce, the IDO dates, the layer 1 dates, and we'll probably reiterate some of the recent changes that we've made in terms of our vesting as well, because we've increased the period of our of the tokens being vested as well, the internal tokens that are being held in either project team tokens or marketing or partnership tokens. So we've increased the vesting period for those as well. So all of that will all come out in a big announcement in the next week or 2.
Okay. Yeah. So I know I want to kind of like tie into the beta program that you guys were talking about earlier. Are there going to be any more like open spots for people who would like to participate in the near future, or is that like an ever growing thing, like it's happening constantly?
Yeah, so it's happening now, and there are still a few open spots. So if you go into our Discord server, you can apply for the beta program. So we are having, at the moment, we have 4 active groups for the beta program. And in the last week, we tested the version 0.830 with all 4 groups with the same version, just to see how our geocore will perform. And it was as expected. Had some issues initially, but we were able to fix the issues within, I think, 24 hours. So now the geocore got hammered, really hammered, during the last week, and it performed very well. So that's one part of the test where we wanted to mass test our geocore and the ability of the geocore to actually handle the traffic volume. So with 4 groups, 400 collectors with one geocore, it was handling it very well. So now we are at the moment working on the updated version. So how it works is that we have you can say several branches of the collector software, and we can test as much we want in the lab. We can never really simulate the real world out there. So that's where we have the public beta. And during the last week, it turned out that the version we have for the collector, the branch we used last week, was not the right one. So that's great outcome, basically, because now we know what we have to do. So on Thursday, we will release the new version of a new branch of the version of the collector, and then it goes out for testing as well. And that already includes a lot of improvements, a lot of fixes that the community detected and reported back to us. Big thank you to Spelling Error to get all this bugs into our DevOps so we can fix them. So all in all, the process was really successful. We had a lot of users who had no issues at all, and the collector was just doing its job. And so that's what it is all about, right? So that's why we do the beta testing. So there are slots free. We will also enter soon the Guardian beta program, which is our storage node, or our storage or storage for the search engine. So you can apply for that as well. But there are also slots for the collector itself.
Nice. Yeah. I'm glad that you guys are kind of like making sure that there's always more slots opening up as you go along, kind of speeding it up, but also making sure that you're not spreading yourselves too thin. So yeah.
We even will have special events. So I'm planning, as we did last week with the performance test, we will have more of those performance tests where all beta testers hit one geocore, for example, to just see how the geocore performs under really heavy load. You have to know that a geocore.
So making sure that.
Big thank you to Spelling Error to get all this bugs into our DevOps so we can fix them. So all in all, the process was really successful. We had a lot of users who had no issues at all, and the collector was just doing its job. And so that's what it is all about, right? So that's why we do the beta testing. So there are slots free. We will also enter soon the Guardian beta program, which is our storage node, or our storage or storage for the search engine. So you can apply for that as well. But there are also slots for the collector itself.
Nice. Yeah. I'm glad that you guys are kind of like making sure that there's always more slots opening up as you go along, kind of speeding it up, but also making sure that you're not spreading yourselves too thin. So yeah.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. We even will have special events. So I'm planning, as we did last week with the performance test, we will have more of those performance tests where all beta testers hit one geocore, for example, to just see how the geocore performs under really heavy load. You have to know that a geocore normally usually would handle around 250 collectors and not 400 or 500. But we want to make sure that we can handle larger loads. So that's where we will have special events where everyone can hit one geocore as much as possible, just to see how it reacts. And that the same will happen with the Guardian as well.
And just the people who are involved in the beta program will get priority to run the collector as guardians when we are live, and there's no cost to running those. So again, we want to make sure we are a community-driven project, so we're not going to be charging for having that space. Yes, if you're there helping us with the beta, then you'll get that priority, and you'll be able to start earning Timpi as soon as we go live.
Awesome. So you guys are talking about like the actual platform and its fundamentals, kind of as you're exploring that with the beta program. How is is layer 1 gonna tie into it compared to like Kadena tying into it?
I mean, the layer 1. So for the search engine itself, for the software itself, the layer 1 does not integrate more as Kadena does. So we every contributor will of course be able to earn Timpi tokens, and for the contribution. The software itself is independent from the blockchain, and that was a design decision we did because what we wanted to achieve is a wide adoption. So that means our software can run on nearly any system. At least you don't need to prepare anything, or you don't need to provide any additional, for example, static IP addresses and anything like that. So how it works in the search engine itself is more around the tokenomics and earning tokens. And then, of course, from a governance point of view, that's where the whole layer 1 comes into play. When you use our tech, and you can basically, the community can propose changes in how we do things and how, for example, the ranking algorithm works and stuff like that. That's where we use the layer 1 more heavily. And the other usage for the layer 1 is, of course, the advertisement network. As I said, there are more NFTs coming for the ad network and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have a piece of development that's in the pipeline that we can't share with people right at this stage, but we're looking at potentially being in a position where we want to mint hundreds, if not thousands, of NFTs per day, potentially even tens of thousands. And so with this volume, then having our own layer 1 really gives us full control over how they're minted, and then also significantly reduces our cost. Also, Timpi, and then just coming back to the cost side of things, is that we are looking at huge volume of transaction that's just going to be going through our ad network and the Timpi ecosystem. And so along with that comes charges, which if we were on other networks, we would be paying, but we're not. So we can push those savings back into, yes, running Timpi operationally, but as people are rewarded as a percentage of our revenue is in terms of our profits, then there's going to be more to go around for those holders as well. So there's a lot of cost savings long term. Again, we're thinking long term here, that are going to be huge for Timpi on our own layer 1.
Yeah. So I know you kind of partially answered what my next question is going to be, which is, yeah, you literally just partially answered it, but I feel like for some people who are a little bit confused about the decision, I'm just going to go ahead and ask this question. What does your guys' layer 1 have that Kadena doesn't have?
So yeah, so we'll the first thing I would say is what I've just gone through in terms of cost of minting NFTs, and also the cost of transactions. So all that is completely within our control and our ecosystem. So that's going to benefit us and the holders. It also gives us more flexibility in terms of how we're using the blockchain to support additional functionality. I'm trying to be a bit vague here because we can't share everything at this stage about what we want to use it for. But if we look at metadata, for example, so we had a conversation with Doug from Kadena, and for people who don't know Doug, he's the IT manager, or is he chief technician? I can't remember exactly his role.
Director of engineering.
Okay, director of engineer of Kadena, and we had a long conversation with him about the use of Kadena and Timpi, and the Kadena actually steered us away from using their network for things like storing metadata, meta search data, for example, just because they understand the sheer volume that we're going to be putting through, and really that's not the kind of usage that's going to work on Kadena. However, it really will work very well for the payment transactions, and that's what we're using it for. Another opportunity that this brings is with Kadena is in gas stations. So when we look at how we're building and designing the Timpi ecosystem, it's with the users in mind. So with our own layer 1, we can actually then, coming back to cost and profits, then we can actually push some transaction fees from our own layer 1 into gas stations on Kadena, which means that there will be, we can then reduce the cost or even have zero cost, for example. So it just gives us a lot of control and flexibility going forward, when we think about it's not just a search engine. This is just the beginning of a very long journey for Timpi.
Yeah, and I know, sorry, that was kind of like an ignorant question, to be honest, because I'm sure there's many factors that go into the decision to do that. Myself, I understand a lot more clearly now. You guys were talking about storing metadata. Kadena, well, it has probably the highest possible throughput for any L1 chain in the near future. Like you said, it's not even the fastest settlement layer. It doesn't have the fastest settlement speeds, stuff like that. So, yeah, and the fact that you guys talked with the Kadena team kind of made like a unanimous decision on that. Definitely kind of makes me gain some more confidence about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of we have cut some slack for moving to a layer 1, but I want to reiterate that there's absolutely zero changes to the way we're operating on Kadena. No changes at all from day 1. It's just instead of Kadena and Ethereum, and now you can see in terms of everything that we've discussed here, moving on to Ethereum would be a nightmare, particularly as they've not moved to V2. Then we're just using Kadena and our own layer 1. And yeah, these decisions haven't been made lightly. As I said, we've consulted the engineers from Kadena themselves and major global partners in our approach, and yeah, we feel that we're making the right decisions for everyone long term.
Yeah, I can see that. CFI, I brought you up if you want to say anything.
Hey guys, good catching up with you guys again. I was following the conversation probably 3/4 of the way through, maybe. But have you guys decided which layer 1 solution you're going to have? Is it a kind of a fresh new tech, or are you going to go on Cosmos, or what's happening there?
Yeah, so we do have at the moment, we are in the design phase where we're looking at 2, and one of those is Cosmos. We are not going to reinvent the wheel, so it will not be from scratch new development. It doesn't make any sense. And we are looking very closely into Cosmos as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the concept there with Cosmos is really the app-specific chain idea, which I think between being a layer 2 on Ethereum, which is popular on or an app-specific chain on Cosmos, I think those seem to be like the primary choices people have right now. So I figured you'd probably be looking at both of those.
Yeah, we do look at those, and I mean it's and I think there were the questions. Okay, do we have even experience, and can we make the decision in terms of layer 1, as we initially were just a search engine and a token. So yes, we do have experience in layer 1. We do got expert help in layer 1. So we have a couple of people who actually help us understanding what's necessary to make it future proof and what isn't we need to do. So yeah, and it's where we are in the design phase right now, and making the last decisions on what's the best approach. So as I said, Cosmos is one of the candidates we have.
Yeah, I would suppose that you'd like to keep your core competency in the AI and search element, and not necessarily get too caught up in the the choice of layer 1s and the these kinds of issues, because obviously that data has to go somewhere, but the search has to work first and foremost, I guess, right?
Yeah. So our core competency from a team point of view is still AI and search engine. And when we decided to go to layer 1, we knew that we need to get expertise in-house, and that's what we did. So and we get additional resources from external to help us make the right decisions, and that also works together with when we talk to the engineering with Doug from Kadena to get an understanding, because I mean, you can't get closer to Kadena than talking to Doug. He helped us understanding, okay, what could be an issue in the future, so we can avoid it straight away, and that all led to us making the call of, okay, we do need our own chain. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a lot of. I think you guys cleared up a lot of stuff here. I'm gonna be real, because I know there were some people in the community who were kind of worried about the whole chain switching decision, but considering that you guys are going to have the same functionality on Kadena as you did before, this is just going to be for kind of settlement. I don't think it's much of an issue myself. So yeah, thank you for clearing that up. Tom, I'm going to add you up here if you have anything to say, if you had to ask a question.
I'll just add slightly onto the back of that, and thanks for that feedback. We feel that if people have got all the information available, and they're understanding what the proposition is, and we can really communicate to people in the right way, then I think everyone should see that this is a good move. Now, one of the things that's been highlighted, I think, for me over the last few weeks, is that we haven't necessarily always communicated effectively the reasoning behind these moves, and so I think that's something that we're taking on board and looking at what we can do in order to better communicate with our audience, so that people don't feel like we're making wrong decisions. Because I think, again, if they've got the data and we're able to communicate in an appropriate way, then I think people will see that we are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I kind of see the couple of big issues being mainly one, the question of technology in terms of the crypto point, as far as like decentralization, speed, all the usual things, and then the second element is like which destinations give you the most amount of like access to customers and liquidity, since obviously part of the reason to have coins and tokens on Kadena or Ethereum or anywhere is to bring cash flow in to like support the system.
Yeah, and those are really good points, and I think we need to really work in the next week or so. Well, we've already started working on how we can really articulate that, get it down on paper, get it out into Medium posts that people can read, make sure it's getting spread throughout the community, and having these AMAs with you guys is really helpful for us to help get this message out.
Yeah,
So I
well,
really appreciate
one
it.
of the areas I've been kind of interested in, and I don't know where you guys are in terms of releasing um, or when, like, what kind of beta programs are open right now. I hadn't really caught up lately. I was kind of busy, but I'm curious. Ultimately, uh, really kind of getting some of the Timpi network running on my own personal computers, or
Yes.
possibly on business computers as a possible, potential business adventure in a sense. So yeah, just kind of thinking about that long term as far as those opportunities. And I think more. I guess what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to those things, like the easier it is for the end user to spin up a call it a node, or guardian, or whatever the different terminologies are.
Yep.
Ultimately, the ability for individuals to do this very easily is really important. Like, I think Theta does a pretty good job. Like Theta's network, where you download your little software, and whether it's Mac or PC, and you're off and running within minutes. Hook up a wallet, and next thing you know, you're earning Theta tokens or whatever. So I think some of those companies that have done this, like Theta and Brave and others, have done a pretty good job as far as like making it easy for the customer to do it. That's, I think, one of the most important things as far as ease of use for growth of that. To be able to tell your friends easily, or talk on a Twitter space and say, "Hey, you download this, you push that button. Next thing you know, you're a member of the system," right? And
Yeah.
simplicity.
Yeah, that's our approach as well. I mean, with the current beta program we run, we get the necessary feedback to really make it easy. So our beta testers doing a great job. As I said initially, it's they doing a great job giving us feedback on, okay, how can we make the process easier, or whatever other issues might have been found in the software itself. So that helps us to really make a great experience, or create a great experience um, for the user. It should be just installing the software, hooking up your wallet, and off you go. And that's for the Guardian, for the collector itself. You don't need to stake. You don't need to do anything. It's basically just installing a software, and that's it.
So currently, what kind of computational resources are you seeing that people need? I think a lot of folks, especially retail users, who might want to contribute. Most people have probably one computer running most of the time in their home, and the
Yep.
ability to add, these kinds of capabilities to a computer you already own is very powerful, compared to having to buy another computer to participate. And I think that's a key element. The idea that more of these decentralized systems run in parallel with other processes that are running on your computer, and as long as they're resilient to sort of like routine stuff, like restarting your computer for updates and whatnot. The way I envision it, you would have like an average user might be running 2 or 3 or 4 different types of applications, Timpi just being one of them,
Yeah.
on their personal computer, and that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, so that works. So the version. So we started off with a version that was able to run on, I think, even 2 cores and 2 gigabytes of RAM on a Linux system. But you can say if you have 4 cores, you can run the software. Our last iteration of the software, that I said that earlier, was one version that we decided not to further develop. So we have several branches of our collector, and the mass test we do, right? So the beta testing, what we do at the moment, gives us the right information to make decisions on, okay, what branch is it we want to continue developing. And the branch we are working on right now will be able to run on even 2 cores in a virtual machine, or just on your normal computer, and it will not take as much resources as the previous version did, and you have more flexibility. We will have some updates on that on Thursday, but what I can say is you can now decide what kind of collector is it you want to run. And also, do you want to use a proxy server or other technology? and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not just Linux, right? So people can run it on what other
Linux,
systems have we
Windows.
got it working on right now?
Yeah, so it's Linux, Windows. It does work on Mac OS, but we do need to do more testing on Macs as well. But it's Linux, Windows, Linux, and Mac OS.
Cool. So, hey, KDA, I added you as a speaker. I don't know if you guys wanted to say anything.
Yeah, I did have one question that might be a little offbeat, but so I'm a machine learning guy, not the Python hack it up, but the theoretical type. And so kind of working with Google's team before, I used to, when I worked at D-Wave, we worked with Harmut and Evan's team, and we learned a lot about how difficult it is to run machine learning at scale for search. And so I'm just wondering if you can comment a little on your machine learning pipeline and what you're planning to do, because at Google, if you're going to compete with them, you're going to have to cycle through 100 billion rows of data and compute on this, and you need like a small city block of computers to do anything. So can you comment a little bit more on that, which is the bottleneck, and not really crypto, which isn't, but that's kind of the bottleneck for you guys?
Yeah. Fair enough. So, of course, so I would be crazy claiming that we can put the same resources onto our AI training as Google does. Of course not. But it's also not the aim. So we are concentrating on, at this stage with our AI models, more on the side of usability or user-friendly. So if I look at the word vector AI, for example, this will help us to understand what is it the user want, even if the user doesn't really know what he wants. So that's one part. What we do is, in word vector AIs, you can train them up. I wouldn't say easily, but you can train them up. It is quite easily. It's just a lot of time. So we do develop our AIs in-house. The benefit I have is I'm doing AI training since 7 years now. And I have trained a lot of models and gained a lot of experience in that area, and that's the biggest challenge in AI, what many people might not know. The training in AI itself is nothing the user does. It's basically the machine does its stuff. The biggest challenge is more the preparation of the information, so the data. So if you have a well-prepared data an AI model can use to train, you have a lot of more success. And that's the biggest challenge we work at the moment on, as we need to prepare information or the data set for the AI models. And my previous work just helps me identifying what is needed and what can or can't work, but also identifying what model might work out well in terms of the parameters and what model might not work well, and that saves a lot of time. But it is a tedious process. Don't get me wrong. You have, and I think, if someone did ever train AI models, it is sometimes quite frustrating because you train models for hours or sometimes days, and then you find out it's rubbish and it doesn't do what you want, so you start over again. So it's not as exciting as it might sound. It is really tedious work in preparing the data sets in order to get an AI model what you want it to do. So, but we are aware of the challenges, and we prioritizing at the moment the models we need for the search experience, and that's what we're prioritizing at the moment. And there are many more, and we have in our pipeline hardware that will help us to determine or to train models even faster, and that will help us, of course, having more models at the same time. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, maybe I could just follow up. Just really, I'm sorry. Just
no
quick.
worries. Sure.
So the issue in search is that you're solving a large eigenvalue problem, and you're trying to order everything in terms of some sort of metric, which is sort of boiled down to what the average user might want to see. Like when you put in Timpi, you would really like to see things to do with Timpi and not like maybe like a ballet somewhere in Russia or something that might be called Timpi. And so, you're really guessing, you're really trying to train that model. And kind of why I brought that up is that to train that model, because the English language is just so is so complex. And then you have many other languages as well. You just need to ingest a lot of money. So where I was going with that question was, would you ever think about sort of fragmenting your learning model across many nodes? So like I run like massive servers, and it would be really interesting to just lend you computing power through Flux maybe. And then you could kind of farm that compute out for, because you're going to have to ingest billions of rows of data. There's no way around it to get an effective search that pleases people. So will you ever think about kind of farming that out in a decentralized way?
Yes, we are actually having a part of our roadmap is actually having another node that users can run, and that's an AI node. So yes, it's part of the roadmap already. Yeah. So basically, using the compute power and the graphics cards, it's basically the GPUs we are after. Using that and having the AI models trained on computing systems or computer systems of the user. If we have users who, like you, have gear that can be used for that.
Cool. Yeah, call me up when that happens, and I'll
oh yeah, I will do.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think is the future of sort of like Intel and like Apple chips or systems on chips that are designed specifically for AI work? Do you feel like those types of systems are, I guess, easy to program on or implement? Or do they improve the situation in some way for you guys, like as opposed to GPUs at some point in the future?
Maybe. What I see is right now, I mean, the GPU only helps you in order of time. So you have two choices, and that's the same with the search engine when we designed the search engine. One choice is you have your own very powerful hardware. And for a search engine, that would mean we need terabytes of or petabytes of storage, for example, or you have a decentralized way. So there is no real difference without going into too much detail. But I can have the same result with 100 slower computers than with one large computer in most cases. In AI, it doesn't work all the way, but let's put it that way. So I see at this stage the GPU is still the better option, but I'm hoping that we go back to a CPU, more capable CPU that we can use for AI training.
I suspected you would say that only because, like, which platform would you use? Like, at least in GPUs, there's some coherence as far as like one computer to the next. GPUs largely work similarly. Whereas if you talk about like a chip that, Apple develops for quote unquote AI usage, or Intel or whoever, they're not necessarily on the same sort of architecture in any meaningful way. So like if I have one and, somebody else has another chip, then the problem is you can't really program in a decentralized way for that, in theory, right? I guess that's the problem.
You can.
Or part of it.
So my benefit is again with the security bit I do. A couple of years back, I was working with a business that did exactly that. So they had a decentralized platform for people who wanted to train AIs. They could use and tap into the hardware. So what you could do is you could actually make it work that a Mac and the Windows train on the same model without being compatible. It's quite interesting, but you can make it work. It's complex as well, but you can make it work. So you are not depending on the same hardware platform for your AI models. It works for some models. It doesn't work for all models, I have to say.
I suppose it's kind of like, it depends on how good the APIs are for each individual platform, because some of these custom AI chips like that Intel and Apple are producing, like the APIs may be different between the two, right, platforms, even though your programming interface might be the same.
Yeah.
So then you wind up with like, can you do all the functions you want on every possible theoretical new chip that comes out? So that's kind of the like AI problem. To me, it's like there's not an obvious hardware structure that would make the quote unquote best AI yet, right? So we don't know what that is. So there'll
Yeah.
probably be a long battle of decades while people figure that out, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm hoping for quantum computers.
Yeah, among other things. Either that or if that'll turn out either really good or really bad for us, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you guys for kind of like C5 for joining in, kind of lighting up the discussion a little bit. So if anyone else has any questions, you guys can raise your hand. Otherwise, I think we'll wrap it up. I'll give you guys a minute.
Yeah, I've got to. I've actually got another call with Flux right now. I'm going to be late for, so I might just drop off if that's okay. Leave Jörg here to mop up any last questions if that's all right.
Yep.
But no, good. Thanks for. You're in that meeting as well, are you?
Yeah. I'm in the meeting as well, but that's fine. Go you first, and I will pop in later.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for hosting us, guys, and always great to be here. And thanks, C5, for your questions. Always enjoy the conversations between you and Jörg. Thanks, everyone, and I'll speak to you again shortly.
Thank you.
Sure.
Take care.
So I'm still here. So if anyone has a question, feel free to, unmute.
Hi guys, can you hear
I
me?
added you up here. Yep, we can hear you.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to say I'm a big fan of Timpi, so big fan of the concept. And
Thank you.
I also wanted to know how was the development of your blockchains going?
It's going good actually. So as I said, we initially, we are still in the design phase at the moment. We defining all the requirements the blockchain needs to, or what we need to put into the blockchain. That's close to be finished off now. And then the core decisions we already made is basically, one is we do not do it from scratch. So we are not going to develop the blockchain from scratch. That gives us, of course, a huge benefit in terms of timeframes.
Yeah.
So we are looking at something like 8 to 10 weeks for the development of the blockchain itself, instead of 8 to 12 months. As we use an existing framework, so that helps us a lot. But at this stage, we are designing and planning how the blockchain needs to look like and what it is we need to consider.
Sounds great. Thank you very much for the answer. Good luck.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay, I don't want to hold you up too long, Jörg. So if you have that meeting to get to, I think we'll wrap it up now. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. Thank you, Jörg. And then I said thank you to Gareth, but I'll say it again while he's not here. Thank you, Gareth, for coming on. I remember you guys, we did a Telegram AMA a while back, so it's nice to finally get to speak to you on Twitter. I feel like it's a lot more intuitive. And yeah, hopefully we can do it again later on when you guys are further into your roadmap.
Okay, yeah, no, sounds good. Sounds great. And I enjoyed it very. So it was fun. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And wherever you are, enjoy the rest of your day, night. And we talk soon again.
You too, Gareth. Sorry, I said Gareth. You too, Jörg. Take care.
See ya. Bye-bye.
That wraps it up for another amazing AMA. Thank you very much for listening. Here at KPN, we strive to bring an open platform for projects being built on Kadena to present themselves to the community. Please ensure to do your own research on each project before investing. Also ensure to follow all our social media, from Twitter to subscribing to our weekly newsletter, to ensure you are up to date on everything KDA related. You can find the links directly on our SoundCloud profile page. Thank you and take care.